Uh, yeah. Woke up with a vision, it's Professor Bear's day. Ruling the game, coming hard, paving his way. Thoughtful and smart, yeah, the wisdom of man. In a world full of shadows, he's breaking the cap. Tightening up knowledge, hear the people cheer. With every step forward, he's shifting the gears. Professor Bear, yeah, he's claiming his state. With the power of wisdom, watch the ground shake. No mountain too high, no challenge too tough. When you roll with the bear, you know it's
beginnings on the cusp. Not too old to adjust. Old dog, new tricks. Remember, I was just a pup. Something dirty in my cup. Clean soul, good.
Wrestling Society Network. History, heart, and two paws up, baby. This is a Bear's Thoughts, breaking down the legends, the stories that shaped the squared circle. Professor Bear, old school wrestling like you ain't never heard it before. Hosted by the man with more knowledge than steel cages got steel. Only on the Wrestling Society Network.
Welcome, and thank you for joining me this evening. I am Professor Bear, and this is a Bear's Thought. And today, our show is sponsored by two great, my brain has just completely frazzled on me, but sponsors. My first one is Tag Team Toys and Collectibles. Now, as a kid, I loved wrestling. So much so, my father got me a toy wrestling ring, and I had all my action figures and just did all the great things with my action figures. So then I got a job at Toys R Us. If you don't know what that is, go look it up. And man, I was able to buy all the different wrestling figures and stuff. Well, didn't keep up with it much and got older doing life things. And a few weeks ago, I was cleaning out my garage, and lo and behold, I found my action figures. Man, I had the original set of ECW figures. I was blown away, and I thought, man, I'm going to hang on to these. Then I was like, man, I could really use the money now. So I'm not the type of person to go online to sell things. I just don't have the patience for that. And I started looking up collectible places. And lo and behold, right here in East Tennessee, I found Tag Team Toys and Collectibles. They are tremendous. They have all types of wrestling figures, accessories, real championship belts. They have VCR tapes, DVDs. If you don't know what a VCR tape is, that was the thing that started in the beginning of my promo. So, yes, they are just so great. So what I would suggest for you is to go on Facebook and look up Tag Team Toys and Collectibles. You will not be sorry for doing that. And my other sponsor is Chops, Cards, and Print on Demands. Again, as a kid, did the typical thing. I collected baseball, football, basketball, wrestling cards. And I said to myself, one day I'm gonna have them. I'm gonna have a card of my own. Then I realized, well, you got to be athletic, you got to put in the work. I'm not doing that. So that dream, I just said, well, mm. Until I found Chops cards. They do great, just immaculate trading cards, personalized to your standards. Professor Bear is right now working on them. I am getting me 18 Professor Bear trading cards for all of $50. Yes, I said $50. There's no way you can beat that unless you use my promo code Bear15 and you could get 15% off your entire order. Yes, it just gotten better. If you want to, if you run a promotion, if you just want your own, these are the people you need to go to. That's Chops, Cards, and Print on Demand. Your number one for personalized trading cards. Now, guys and girls, I know you're used to Professor Barrow running behind, and there's no excuse for it, but I have great guests. And luckily for me, my current guest, she is such a sweetheart. She was just so patient and was watching my other interview so she could see how terrible Professor Barry is at his job. But that's okay because is what Professor Barry does. I would love to introduce to y'all Nina. Nina, how are you doing this?
Hi guys, I'm doing great. Cold here, freezing, but we're making do.
That is tremendous. So, as I always start with the question, what got you into professional wrestling?
It's the funniest story, and I would say a long story specifically, but so my husband's a professional wrestler. He's been working with Grindhouse for a while now, and I've always been a behind the scenes type of person, so I had always done his merch or, made sure everything was orderly and kept up with everything was clean. And before that, he did music. So we spent a lot of time, on the road traveling. We did a lot of shows, and the same thing, I kind of managed him and kept him in line. So when I had spent a lot of time at Grindhouse cleaning up after shows, keeping everything in order, making the boys were clean, that kind of thing. And I was sitting at the merch table one day, and Ronnie Roberts walked up to me and was like, "Have you ever thought about ring announcing?" And it was honestly like somebody had just kind of like blown my mind. I've always been behind the scenes. Nobody had ever been like, "Hey, take this microphone and be in the front, like front and center." And I'm a mom. I have two young kids, and I worked in healthcare I mean, for a very, very long time. So I was always the type of person to want to put everybody else first. So finally, for somebody to come to me and be like, "Hey, we see you. Not only do we see you, we want you to be the face." So that just kind of started, and it's just been kind of rolling since then.
Oh, wow, that's kind of cool. So, were you a wrestling fan before you met your husband?
We I don't want to say I was a hardcore fan. Growing up in the 90s, wrestling was huge. Growing up with boys, I had, cousins and everything that was all the rage. So there was no getting around it. I definitely watched wrestling all growing up, being influenced by it, bits and pieces here and there. And it's always been something that me and my husband have kind of watched together. Um, I don't want to say I was the type to go out and buy t-shirts and, full gear and everything, but we had went to, a lot of, house shows, AEW. We had been to Grindhouse quite a few times. Uh, And I'm the type of person that I go all in. So the day my husband sat down and was like, "Hey, I think I want to do wrestling." Here I'm the biggest wrestling fan. I will study, I will learn, I will do whatever it is. And when I tell you, I think I've become more a fan of independent wrestling than any other branch out there. These guys are so talented and just the most genuine people that I have ever met. It's wild to me.
You know, that's I always well, not always, but I'm big into telling people, if you've never started of watching wrestling, start with independence first,
Definitely.
because it's a it's a better atmosphere. You get to actually meet the wrestlers, you get to see them kind of cut loose and just have a great experience with indie wrestling versus AEW and WWE and TNA, because you actually can interact with the wrestlers and the promoters versus at those shows. Now, I'm not saying they're not great, not definitely not saying they don't have half great athletes, but it's more of a home. It's almost, I always call it the family reunion feeling,
Yeah.
because you get to know people, you see them. It's like, if you don't see them for a while, then you see them again. It's like, where you been? You been
Yeah.
okay? It's just a real family atmosphere.
It really is. And I got into this a little worried about that. Um, like I said, my husband had done music for a long time and we were in that scene. And towards the end, I mean, it got kind of toxic. I mean, some of these people, it was everybody versus everybody. And even your friends and the people who you're doing music with, if you're doing better numbers, everybody was always butting heads, and it was this person versus this person no matter what. So when I came into wrestling, I kind of came in with a chip on my shoulder of being like not taking everybody at face value type, like maybe a little more guarded. But as soon as I started meeting these guys and seeing the amount of work that they put in to hone their craft, how much some of these just care so much. And like you said, I mean, if I miss a show, I'm getting text messages, are you okay? Is the family okay? If I'm traveling this place or if I'm working that place, there are people who just show up for the fun of it. And it's so wild to me that I haven't ran into a single person who isn't all in for the next guy.
It That is one of the greatest things about indie wrestling that I think is tremendous. Even to the point that if someone gets called to a bigger platform, you're generally happy for them
Yeah.
and very supportive. And that says a lot. So you hadn't plugged your husband yet. I,
I, I was waiting to make sure, see how you felt about it. So I'm married to OG Ugly. He currently is out of Grindhouse Pro Wrestling. You can follow him on all of his socials. If you name it, he's got it. He's on Twitch somewhere. He's on Facebook, everything. So OG Ugly, one word. He actually does say he still has his music pages. He's on Apple Music. If you look him up, he's there too. Um, Great guy. The most loyal person you'll ever meet. He's very straight up. He will tell you exactly, might not be what you want to hear, but it's what you need to hear. But he is so loyal and you will not regret it. He's great.
so
There he
what
is.
you say his name and he
Yep,
appears.
I Beetlejuiced him.
So when you first started doing the ring announcing, were you scared? How did you take it when they asked you to do it?
You know, at first, I think it was shock. You know, somebody pulling the wool over your eye. Like it is. No one had ever asked me to be front stage before, so it was the initial point of being more of I was a theater kid. You know, I did theater. I had always loved, acting. I had done all of the things. But as an adult, it just kind of wiped away. You know, it was something I had done in high school, all that. And I live in a small town, so there really wasn't like an opportunity to continue to do anything seriously. Uh, so the stage performance part of it didn't bother me at all. And starting at a place like Grindhouse, where I had been behind the scenes for over a year, I'd kind of known everybody. It was more so of just being seen. You know, I had always been. I get up there and people, hey, I recognize you, I know you, and it was just so like I had been there for so long. You don't realize people do see you, so it
Right.
it was crazy to me.
What was it like for the first fan to like, oh my God, you're Nita. Oh my God.
It's still to this day. I almost want to be you want me? Like I look behind me, like, are you talking to me? You know, and especially these young girls. It is such a heartwarming experience to have a little girl come up to you and be like, I want to do this. Like I want to do what you're doing. I didn't know that you could do this, So asking me for autographs, I had to like really think about like when you go to sign, signing Nina, which was a nickname all growing up anyway. But the first time somebody asked me for an autograph, like I went to go write and I had to pause for a second because like this is such a wild experience for me. So,
And I definitely understand exactly what you're talking about. When I had my first experience of someone asking me for an autograph, like you, I'm looking around like,
like me?
where? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to block them. Me? What? And so, yeah. Um, and I'm glad you brought up the little girls. What does it feel like to be a role model on that level?
It is it's my favorite part, if we're being completely honest. I have a daughter, and all you can hope for in life is to be that role model. So, as a mom, I'm home. She sees me doing all of the things at home, being a mother, doing the sports and all the things with her. But to show her that it's possible to do something outside of that, outside of your job, you know, to continue with something that's just not just paying your bills, but like something you enjoy. You can still get enjoyment out of life doing something. And I get to wear the pretty dresses and I get to fix my hair and do all of it's so fun. So that was my original goal, was like to show my daughter that you can do these things. And then I walk out and there's these little girls, dressed in these dresses. And the first time I saw a Nina Darling sign, bawled. I cried, and it still catches me off guard. I've picked up a couple more promotions since beginning, and this was just last month or the month before. I walked out, and we're in a gymnasium, so there's bleachers full in the back, and this is at Elite Wrestling Alliance in Kentucky. And I had only done maybe 2 or 3 shows there before. But I walk out and there's these huge signs with these little girls have my, and I just like I just kind of pause in the moment and just stare, because if I say anything, I'm not going to sound as strong as I want to sound. So we're just going to stand here in the lights for a minute and just look pretty, I guess.
That is so cool. So, tell me a little bit about Grindhouse Wrestling.
So we are ran. I know Too Tough Tony, JCW. He owns the building. I know Ronnie Roberts. He is one of our trainer. He is my trainer. There are a couple other trainers there. I deal specifically with Ronnie. We run on the last Sunday of every month, and at 1416 Spring Street in Jeffersonville, Indiana. And it is the most family oriented show I have ever been to. We have all of our loyals, true and true. People have the seats that they've sat in every day since I've met them. But there's so many people, now that I'm announcing bringing in my own people, go and one of them will text little girls are now creating friendships with my daughter. It is such a friendly and family environment. It is a family friendly show. There's no violence, no cussing, nothing of the sort, no death matches, none of that. But it is just it's like we gained a huge family. Every person who walks through that door knows your name. And there's been a couple of them where you have to be like, "Well, call me by my personal name." It's like, "It's Nina here." Like, adding me on socials. They're finding me my personal pages, and now I know where their kids are going to school, and I get to see so and so having a baby, and it's a huge family, and I love it so much.
That is so awesome. So, with that being said, of the family atmosphere, how long have you been doing this again?
So for ring announcing, I've only been doing this in less than a year. Like I've done training, but getting on the actual in the ring with the microphone less than a year.
Do you have a goal to take that further?
Currently, I want to be the best that I can be for the three promotions that I currently do work for. Um, I I don't necessarily want to say that I want to level up. In everything that I do, I want to be the best that I can be. Once we hit that threshold, we'll cross that bridge about doing anything else. But I am so thankful for the three promotions that currently have me working for them.
And if you don't mind, name the other two promotions that you announced for.
Okay, so we do Elite Wrestling Alliance out of Danville, Kentucky. They are a newer promotion for me. My husband has wrestled with them for a lot longer than they'd even known I existed. I bought the tickets and I sat in the crowd with the kids and watched. And another one of those situations where they had done a fair event, and the promoter came to me and was like, "Hey, do you want to ring announce?" I was like, yes, I do actually. And then there is a newer promotion, Kentucky Wrestling Alliance, so KWF. Um, I've only just started. It's a every other month situation with them. They are a newer promotion, so they're really getting up off their feet. They are in Frankfort, Kentucky, usually at the Monte Carlo Center in Frankfort,
I've,
Kentucky. But they're
I've actually heard and seen some advertising from them.
yeah, maybe for the Nice Guy Andy podcast type. I know he shares a lot of stuff, so I think I've seen you guys interacting on.
Yes, yes.
I run some of their pages, so.
Oh, okay. Um, let's talk about Nice Guy Andy. Um, do you enjoy working with them?
They have
Helping?
all been so welcoming to such a newcomer. Like I said, I've been behind the scenes, so it's like now I've kind of slipped through the veil, and they immediately were like one of us. So they have been, and my husband is actually their champion, the Nice Guy Andy podcast champion. Um, has the fancy belt and everything. But
Yeah, I've actually seen their belt. That is cool.
they're getting a brand new one, so we're gonna have to keep an eye out for that one. It looks nice. I've seen it, but yeah, that the group as a whole has just been so nice. I mean, I couldn't say a bad word about any of them if I wanted to.
That's great to hear. So I'm gonna kind of go back to what you were saying, and you mentioned that you have a trainer. Is that meaning that you may actually step foot in the ring to actually wrestle?
You're not the first person to ask me this. You won't be the last, but I don't have any plans as of now to wrestle. Um, not I love the pageantry of it. I love the show. I love everything about it. But I do see the amount of physical work that these guys do, the amount of pain that they go through, blood, sweat, and tears all day, every day. And of course, my husband's a wrestler, and I think he's coming on. I think he said the show, the last Grindhouse show, will be his 69th show this year as a newer wrestler.
Wow.
And I just don't feel like my kids need to have two parents coming home with black eyes and all that.
Um, Speaking of your kids, how are they adjusting to dad's wrestler and mom's the announcer?
Oh, they love it. My daughter had always mentioned seeing dad wrestle, so she was always, oh, when can I learn? When can I get in there? And we've kind of talked to her about that. Like later on, we'll discuss it. So now she gets to run the merch tables, and she's about to be 10, so that's a big responsibility for her. She gets to, and it's like I said, Grindhouse is such a family event that it's so nice to be trusted to let my 9-year-old sit at my merch table and know nothing, would happen. I would never do that at a music event. So,
Right.
and then I have a 3-year-old son who thinks that dad is a superhero and mommy dresses up in pretty dresses. It's the coolest thing to see how they react every single, it never dulls. So it's lovely. I love it.
That is such a great thing to be able to have your kids look up to you, even though you're mom, but you're so much more than mom now, and dad is so much more than dad. I love hearing about stories like that.
It's definitely nice, having be a, as a young girl. I feel, don't get me wrong, like I've always wanted to be, I worked in healthcare for a really long time. A big goal of mine was, I was a healer. I always put everybody else first, took care of everybody. And then, me and my husband have been together since we were, literal children. We met in 2007, and we're coming up on 20 years here soon.
Wow.
So growing up together, in my head, what I pictured a happy life is, married, kids, just happy. I didn't have this big idea of making it on Broadway or doing, I wanted to be comfortable. I wanted to be happy. So I'm comfortable and I'm happy. And now being able to take it to that next level where I'm comfortable, I'm happy, and now I get to do more. And it's been such a blessing.
So, is this your first podcast?
It is the first podcast live. I've had a couple like recorded interviews for like behind, and then I do a lot of like behind the scenes interviews, but this is my first live.
So, what was your first thought when I reached out to you?
If I'm going to be completely honest, so it is a complete chance that I even got it. Um, my messenger runs like a ticking clock. When I tell you when I started, helping my husband manage for music, you get the occasional message here and there, like everybody you've ran into has seen you on a stage, so now they want to add you, and it keeps building and building. And then it turned into when he started doing wrestling, it built and built. And then when I started ring announcing, the first thing one of my friends told me was like, make a an account for wrestling. She's like, you're just going to get, and I listened. Nina Darling is my Facebook account, but I started early sharing my things. So my messenger, I get hundreds of messages a day. So it just so happened were leaving a show. I want to say we did Hog Rock actually, and I hadn't had service all weekend. So we were in the car and leaving the area, we were starting to get service, and your message popped up and it got stuck there. And that is the only reason I saw it. And unless somebody tells me I have something waiting, I don't, if I can't be like, this person, click on their page, click on the message and open it.
Right.
It's like a revolving door, just constantly scrolling. So it pulled up and we didn't have service. It just stuck to my page. So I was like, oh, awesome. So replied.
So you're telling me that God wanted you to see my message because
Somebody, some higher power somewhere.
that is so cool. And I truly understand that it can be overwhelming. I've reached out to so many different people, and then I get a chance to see them live. We talk. I'm like, oh, I sent you a message. Oh, don't do that.
Right, yeah.
Send it here. I would never see it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
That is cool.
It went overtime.
uh, so with everything that's going on, do you find yourself having enough time to balance everything that you need to do as far as being a wife, mother, being Nina, and having time to yourself?
It's definitely a challenge, and I'm learning. Uh, it's it's forever evolving. It is. You kind of have to pick and choose what's important at the time. Uh, Being a wife and a mother, very top of my list. That always is up there. Um, I have been so lucky to now be able to work from home. That is one of my biggest blessings is now I am home full time working. So taking my job not out of the equation, but I'm not away for,
Right.
10 hours a day versus before when I was working, in healthcare specifically. I worked in dialysis for a really long time, and I would get into work at 3 o'clock in the morning and be home, late at night and have to be right back in at 3 in the morning. So being able to work and be close allows me to roll with a lot more punches. Uh, and all of the promotions we work for have been family friendly. So being able to bring them with the kids with us. And I'm very picky. There's a few promotions where my husband's a heel at. It's a very few and far between. He's a big baby everywhere else, but there's a couple of them that I won't bring the kids to. I've had fans follow me to the bathroom once, and that was a little rough. So being able to bring the family with me is a very big, plus for me. Uh, Time for myself, that's a different story. Has been a little less here lately, but we're learning. We'll get better.
And I think, of course, that's always going to be a fluctuating thing, especially when you're good at doing the other things. Like you said yourself, you were so used to being in the background that you have to learn how being in front, taking a little time for yourself, it helps all the different other aspects of your life.
Yeah. You learn to juggle real fast.
Um, what would you like to see with your wrestling career in the next year?
Within the next year, um, personally, I would really like to hone in my look. I've been playing around with a couple different looks here recently and just putting the feelers out because I feel like all of the ring announcers I know have a very specific style. And I went in this with the idea of this is what I want to look like and this is what I want, how everything, in a box. And then you step out there in the ring and it's not like that. You quickly learn what works, what doesn't. I've got a good filing system to keep up with every wrestler I've ever announced. I have a note card. So learning how to keep the look, how to be more organized with just across the board. I don't know if I want to pick up any more promotions per se, but I'm not going to say I would turn them down. I'm very open minded to that, but I do want to be the very best that I can be for the promotions that I am working for. So, hope, fingers crossed, that's what my next year is, just me really tuning in, locking in, learning what works. And all three promotions are extremely different. That was the biggest eye opener for me. So Grindhouse, they hand you a microphone, say, go look pretty. You're in the center of the ring and announcing every box out that, into the ring through the curtain. I'm announcing them right then and there. Uh, and I get to have that interaction. I love that. That is my favorite, is to each wrestler that comes out, I get to have that moment. I'm gonna shout out Ben Sharon. We kind of have a feud, girl, we said, across the multiverse, um, where he is just the heel of heels. He is a manager, and every promotion I work for, he is in my face. He is on my butt. Um, and that's kind of the content that, like, on my TikTok, I've posted videos of him being on me, saying mean things, pointing in my face, whatever need be. And the fans really pick up on that. So having that interaction builds me as a baby, helps me as my character. And then my other promotion, so Elite Wrestling Alliance in Danville, they I announce my championship matches from the ring, but everything else is backstage. I'm behind the curtain. It's just my voice. Um, they have an amazing commentary team. Aaron Rose, he has definitely helped me so much. Bobby Blade has helped me so much. They've given me so many pointers, tips, all the things. And then KWF, Kentucky Wrestling Federation, in Frankfurt, is completely different from the other two. So when you have an idea of a ring announcer, you think put on a pretty dress and stand out there and do what you're told, until you realize that every promoter wants something completely different and you just kind of have to roll with those punches.
So I was just with Aaron Rose Sunday. Was it? Yeah, Sunday. He was doing a show here in Knoxville.
Yeah.
And shout out to you. Thank you for getting me in. He is such a great guy. Bobby Blaze, I've actually, did me and Bobby go into the Hall of Fame together in July? I believe so. If I think so. My mind's bad. I'm old, so forgive me. But there are so many great people out in the independents. They are just will watch out for you. They are so friendly that you can't help but feel like you just made another family friend.
Yeah, and there, like us before, there's no gatekeeping. If there is any type of knowledge that somebody believes would help me, I haven't ran into a single person who was like, like figure it out on your own. They have all been so amazing. And I'm the type of person that I benefit from being straightforward. Like if you beat around the bush, I'm going to take what you say, and having people be like, "Hey, this isn't working. It might work up here, but when you say it out loud, it's not work." I can't change it unless I know that. So, and I can't see that from behind a curtain. So having people like Aaron and Bobby and everybody be like, "Try this," or "This is how I do it," or XYZ, very upfront. I appreciate it so much. So
Well, I want to thank you for one, for doing my show, but for adding to wrestling. There's a lot of fans that we forget to look at the whole picture. And the whole picture involves the announcers, the commentary team, the managers, the valets, the people who set up the ring, the concession stand. There are so many people that play such a major part into wrestling that we sometimes forget the referees. We forget that it's not just the wrestlers. With my show, I try my best to give people their flowers because it's one, well deserved. Two, there are so many times people don't get the flowers until after they're gone. And I found in my life that I was not going to do that anymore. I was going to give people their flowers and give it to them where they can smell them, appreciate it, and be thankful of them. So, for me and my fans, we want to thank you for what you're doing, for what your husband's doing, and even for your daughter and your son. Thank you so much for continuously adding to the sport that we all love. Thank you so much.
thank you.
I hope that you had a great time. You have an open invitation. I would love to get you and your husband on here one day. The
Definitely.
whole
He would eat it up.
matter of fact, the whole family. And
Okay.
that is something that I've never did, and I think will be just a whole great experience having the whole family on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Send me a message or send him a message, OG on everything. I can actually send you an invite to his page after this if you wanted to set something up with him.
All right, that sounds great. Well, thank you again so much for doing my show, and I hope that everything continues to grow and blossom the way want to you want your career to go. Is this your daughter?
No, that's my sister.
Oh, sis. Hey,
Nope.
sis.
My daughter's too young for socials right now,
Okay.
so she's
So I thank you and appreciate it, and I can't wait to have you and the family back again.
thank you so much. Everybody follow on socials. It's Nina Darling.
Guys, girls, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was such a great episode, and I always love to end on these two notes. One, continue following your local wrestling, support them. You don't know how much that means to the wrestlers, and you never know who you see now in a few years may be a top star in the bigger promotions. And two, it's great. It's a lot cheaper. You have the interaction with the wrestlers and all the people that work there. You have a great atmosphere. And I implore you to continue supporting your local wrestling. And as always, thank you for following me. Thank you for coming and sitting around the campfire for another great story. And with that being said, I am Professor Bear, and this has been a Bear's Thought. Y'all have a great, great evening.